Dr Zee, where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Uchenna Okagbue.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z. I've got lipstick on my cup. How have you all been? If you're here in the UK, you know the weather has been absolutely brilliant. We can't complain. Normally our weather is dull and grey, but it's been wonderful. And so if you're here in the UK, please read my lips. Keep hydrated. If you're going to drink your tea, your coffee, Coca-Cola. I didn't say, not Coca-Cola. Water, whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself hydrated and healthy. Please do that. And some of you will be saying you haven't seen me for about maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, because I've been a woman of leisure. I've recently come back from an amazing Mediterranean cruise. And I thought, you know what? I wish my life could be like that permanently, cruising around the world. But, you know, we have to come back to reality. Hence, I'm back with another episode. And today's episode is going to be an absolute clincher. Speaking to an amazing woman from across the pond. And that's not to say that my previous guests have not been amazing. Everyone that comes on this platform is absolutely phenomenal. And this one, I'm really looking forward to this particular episode. Really. This is episode 48. Episode 48 in A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z, where we spotlight amazing, extraordinary, phenomenal women around the world doing extraordinary things. And you might be saying, oh, Dr. Uchenna, I'm not extraordinary. Every single woman is extraordinary. We all have something to offer. We all have something that we can do for someone else. And I use this platform to challenge all of us when we listen to other people's stories to say, why can't we do it? Why can't we do something? It could be with your next door neighbor. It could be in your park. You could be a homemaker. You could be an engineer. You could be a cleaner. You could be a doctor. It doesn't matter what you are or who you are, but it's the woman inside. And so I do this because many people think, oh, well, I'm not special. Who wants to listen to me? Keep your ears open, because I might be coming to you next. We all have something to share. You're an extraordinary woman, and so am I. So I'm just going to read a little bit about my next guest, which I can't wait. Now, I put my phone on. I should know this, woman in tech. I put my phone on airport mode now so that I don't distract the show. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my next guest. My next guest, I'm not going to say her name yet. She's a publisher. She's a personal and family history enthusiast. She's a biography writing coach, writing coach. So if you need your biography written or you want to know how to do it, she is the right person to speak to, even if I say so myself. She's a book reviewer. She's an author, and she's a physician. So you'll be thinking, how do all those tie in together? She's not just any kind of physician, although there isn't any kind of, every physician is an expert in his or her field, but she's really specializes in oncology. She's also has extensive experience in self-publishing, and she's published several family biographies. She's developed a program to help you get your biography done, and it's called Your Biography Done, and it helps others like you and me to record our cherished personal and family stories in print so that it doesn't get forgotten, or it doesn't get, expunged out of history. She's also the founder of Dr Uche Books. Now you know her name now. It's a movement really geared towards writing and publishing biographies and highlighting works of fiction across the diaspora. She has an extensive presence on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and she's also the author of 2 best-selling books available on Amazon, namely Self-Navigate for Health and how to write your family biography. She's also a board certified hematologist, a medical oncologist, as I mentioned earlier, and she's received her medical degree. She received her medical degree with honors and completed an internal medicine residency at the St. John's, at the John Hopkins University. If you know anything about that, you know that's very, very top with regards to this particular area. Um, and I can talk about her forever, but what I should really do is I should bring her on. So her name is the amazing, phenomenal Dr. Uchenna Okagbue Njiaju. And I'm going to bring her. She's going to say, am I talking about her? Am I talking about her? I can see her smiling in the green room. I can see her. I can see her. Hello, hello, hello. Love.
Hello.
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you
me?
perfectly. I can hear you perfectly.
Perfect.
Lovely, lovely to have you. And you're all the way in Colorado. So I know the time is different.
I
Oh my days.
am.
But I am so, so grateful that you were able to come because I know our times are completely different. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
really looking forward to today's show. Each guest I have always has a different flavor, a different thing to bring, something out of the blue. So it's not just your regular kind of person. And this is why I'm so incredibly grateful because I know how busy your time is and I know how we had to make this work. And so I'm really, really glad that you're here today. And I'm really grateful that you are my guest for episode 48 Stories That Heal, Writing, Legacy, and Medicine Across Generations. Oh, my days, my days, my days. Welcome aboard, Dr. Uche. If you don't mind, can I call you Dr. Uche? Do you don't mind? All right, fantastic,
Perfect.
fantastic, fantastic. Right, so let's get straight into it. The first question I want to ask you really, really quickly is what really led you, because people always, I mean, I'm known as the reinvention queen and I do so many different things and I don't believe in being stagnant. I believe in making myself relevant, changing where I need to change. People think that I'm a chameleon, but I meet so many people around the world that do exactly the same thing, and you're one of them. So I want to know, what is the intersection? What's that intersection of your story and being a story writer, story creator, but also being a scientist? you know Tell us a little bit about that, your journey as a hematologist, as an oncologist, as a publisher. How do the two worlds collide? Oh my days.
Ah, thank you so much. First of all, Dr. Zena, I am thrilled to be here with you. Thank you for having me on your fabulous platform. I followed your work. You are
Oh,
doing
thank you so much.
brilliant stuff. So I applaud you as well. And I'm so glad to be here. Hello to your audience. It's so wonderful to be with you. So, yes, I am a hematologist and medical oncologist by training. I went to medical school now, graduated, gosh, 21 years ago now. It's almost 22 years ago. I know. Yes, so that is my life. I'm a daughter of a microbiologist. I was born and bred in science. So finding my way to hematology and medical oncology, part of medicine, was a very natural flow to me. For me, people who may not be as aware, medical oncology and hematology are one of the more scientific part of medicine. So it was very easy for me to go into it. Great fit for my empathic personality, who can hold people's hands through challenging journeys and explain things. And so it was a wonderful fit for me. It is the honor of my life. In addition, I am a family history enthusiast. I'll tell you why. I'm a third culture kid. Third culture kid, what does that mean? It's people like me, people like ex President Barack Obama, people like the late Kobe
Mm,
Bryant, people who were raised through three
yes.
different cultures. I am US born to Nigerian parents. I was raised in
Wow.
Zimbabwe. So I have all these three things working in me. I am a lifelong observer because I never quite fit in anywhere. I sit here, they call me that. I sit there, they call me the other one. So I just sit, observe, and smile and think in my head, this is how it would be done here and there and there. At the same time, Being that third culture kid means that people like me are at risk for not being rooted. You don't feel rooted, you don't feel like you
Yeah.
belong anywhere. And so we run the risk of losing that groundedness that is so important
Mm,
for a person, which is why I believe firmly in writing about our roots. Where are your origins? What
mm,
is your story? What makes you
mm,
that unique
mm,
package that you are? My story is very personal. It was only in 2013 that I came across and learned about my paternal grandfather. So I didn't grow up in the homeland. And so I heard names, but I didn't have stories
mm,
of these people. My dad's dad, I
mm,
never met. I was one of those kids born outside the country, lived in Nigeria briefly as a young child, and heard about this man, but I
mm.
never met him. And he died in
Wow.
1986. So you can imagine around 2013, my dad and my parents came to visit me in Wisconsin at the time. And he just mentioned in passing that he had my grandfather's self written
Wow.
autobiography in his own
Wow.
handwriting, ink
Wow.
on paper, in his possession, and he
Wow.
brought it with him. My dad is also a family and life history
Wow.
enthusiast. So I'm very much my
Wow.
dad's daughter as a scientist and
Wow.
history enthusiast. And so I was thrilled. I had never met this guy who was a pioneer, who founded a school. It didn't survive, but he
Wow.
founded a school, who was known in his community for accurate
Wow.
record keeping. People who are familiar with Igbo culture, the Igbo is my ancestry. That those are my roots on either side, really. Know that the Igbo are very particular about
Yes.
birth order
Yes.
and age, and so in his community, whenever there was some argument about who was born before the other in dividing things and sharing things out, this man was called to the scene, and he was able to say who was born even 2 hours
Wow.
before the other one because he kept records. The colonial government made him a customary court
Wow.
clerk. That
Wow.
was his job. So, in addition to finding a school and being a court clerk, he was one of the first to be educated. So, I am third
Wow.
generation educated. He had post high school education by
Mm,
correspondence with
mm,
some school in England
mm.
at that time. So, such a powerful man, to know so little about him was a
Yes.
big loss. So, you can imagine how I felt to see his
Yes. Yes.
autobiography. For me, it was a
Yes.
seismic shift. My world rocked that day, and I was determined to publish his story. And I got it done. His story is published. It is a book that is published for my family. And so I said to my dad, you know what? You have to write your history too. This is 2013. I urged my dad, I told him, don't worry about writing, record
Mm.
it, put it on tape. I will get it published. And I gave him an old fashioned tape
Wow.
recorder, and he recorded it. And in between raising babies and working and everything, I got my dad's story published
Oh,
as well.
I love it.
So, my mother is the most inspiring person you can ever come across. I told myself I was going to get her story in print. Many, many firsts in her life. Sadly, my mother took ill and we lost her in 2020. I didn't get her story done. I realized she was very ill towards the end of her life.
Condolences.
And so as I
Yeah.
dealt, yep, yep, as I dealt with the devastation of losing her, I realized, oh my goodness, I did not get her story done in her lifetime. So this moved me after a 1, 2 year hiatus. It moved me to say, okay, here's my new life goal. My new life goal is to help others write stories. So I said, how do I get my mother's story done? I get it done by writing up a set of questions. And I'm going to go around asking people those questions who knew her. And my brother said to me, okay, this is ridiculous. You can't come up with this set of questions and keep it
Mm.
to yourself. Get it published. So I put those questions together spanning her lifetime, and I published it in a biography writing manual. So now anyone out there who's never written, never published can go grab that copy, answer the questions, work through it,
Wow.
and voila, they have a
Wow.
first draft. So this is the foundation of my work, the Your Biography Done program, the manual that's available on Amazon. I have used it to coach people through writing their story. I believe your story is your legacy.
Yes.
You don't have to be Obama. You don't have to be Barack Obama. You don't have to be a celebrity. Your story is a roadmap for someone else. And you don't have to go far. That someone else could be your grandchild, could be your
Yes.
great grandchild. Why let them make the same
Yes.
mistakes you've learned from?
Mhm.
Why let them
Yes.
reinvent the
Yes.
wheel if they can
Yes.
have one thing
Yes. Yes.
easier? And in this diasporian world, we're all over the place. Your children are gonna
Yes.
forget your roots
Yes.
if you don't
Yes.
write it.
Yes. Yes.
So that is really something I'm very
No,
passionate
just
about.
as you're saying this, I mean, my next question, and you've actually touched on that, and I will, I'll give you a chance to an opportunity to expand on that even more. My next question was, why do biographies matter? And you've already, you're reading my mind, and it's fantastic. And the one thing about this is that, just so that you know, guys all over the world, we have not actually spoken about this in any shape or form. I knew what she does in
Mm-mm.
terms of writing biographies and stuff like that, but I didn't know the history behind it. So the questions that are coming into my mind are just coming, and I'm really loving, the organic nature of this. But you're absolutely correct. Most of us, many of us, are diasporan kids. Uh, I recently lost my
Mhm.
mom last year. One of the challenges we had when we were trying to figure out where her final resting place was going to be, some of us wanted it to be in England because obviously she spent many years here. She worked here,
Mhm.
retired, and stuff like this, and then she went to America. I mean, I had all these kind of things, and it was like, okay, if she's buried in America, when everyone else is gone, who's going to visit her
Mhm.
grave? Okay, bury her. At least my children
Mhm.
and the people here can visit her, but then her, maybe she wants to go. So all that sort of thing. So you're right in terms of getting that right history. We know the Igbos, and I think other cultures across the diaspora do the same. In fact, the black race, we tell stories. We tell stories, but I can imagine, although I mean, if we talk about roots, for instance, the famous, Alex Haley and the book, and we pass down
Mhm.
stories, we talk, we speak, we tell our children's children, but obviously with memory, things get watered down, get changed, and all. So it's good to have
Yep.
as accurate as possible. And like yourself, I wish that I got
Yes.
all my mom's. As you were talking, I was thinking about my mom. So I get it, and I'm sure that many people listening, especially if you happen to be a diasporan, you may be in America, you might be in England, France, Germany. I don't know where you might be. You'll be thinking
Yeah.
about these
Yeah.
same things. How do we collect our stories, keep our stories,
Yep.
especially when lots of schools in the diaspora are trying to expunge histories. So we know, for those that
Yes.
are descendants of slaves, like we all are, but more connected in terms of that, you're a Black American, for instance, or you're Caribbean,
Mhm.
and most of us that are
Mhm.
African, we don't even know who. We have no idea who. So there's a lot of this,
Yeah.
disjointment. So you're not. So the question, I mean, I know I'm just so excited with this. I think, but the question, and you already touched on it, is, why do biographies matter? What power do you believe there is in writing family biographies? And you really touched on this, but I want to really expand that a bit more, so anyone listening can understand that this really affects and impacts each and every one of us. If you happen to be a person of color in particular, you know, wherever it is that you might find yourself, you know, why is it important? Why is it more than a nice to have? So it's not like a pair of shoes or a Gucci bag, or or you want to go and get your nails done. Why is it more than a nice to have? And I'll let you go, because I know you can talk until forever for this.
Oh my gosh, I could talk a whole day. Biographies matter, stories matter. Diverse stories showcase our common
Mm,
humanity and at the same time allow us to spotlight what's uniquely
mm,
ours. We talk about young children not feeling grounded, not knowing origins, not having a sense
Yes,
of purpose. But we all stand on the shoulders
absolutely.
of giants. Who are those giants in your family? How will you know them if we're not
Yes,
writing stories? 4 or 5 generations later, everyone is forgotten about them. We talk about people being made to feel inferior. Who can make you feel inferior when you know who you
absolutely.
came from? It's not
Absolutely.
possible. And I'm not saying your great grandfather needs to be some
Mm-mm.
celebrity. They have their achievements, okay, in so many
Yes,
different flavors. We need to tell their stories so we remember, so we have that
yes,
sense of pride, so we
yes,
don't get lost where the world tells us we're nothing, so we don't
absolutely.
believe them because we have our
Absolutely.
stories. Your story is a
Yes,
roadmap. Recently on Facebook, there was a story that went around about a young woman who went back to Nigeria and saw her dad in a
Ifunanya.
terrible situation.
Yes.
Yes, and took the dad. Now, how would that
Mm.
child know where to go if that child didn't have a sense
Yes.
of origin?
Yes.
Number one. Number two, how would we like for that child's children tomorrow to start mingling again with those people in Nigeria who maltreated their grandfather? That is the kind of thing that
When we
happens
don't
when we
know.
don't have stories. Because when you have stories, you know who was a blessing, you know who was
Yes.
not so much.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
the mistakes, you know the bad things that happened, you know who to avoid, you know what to do about things, you know names, you know origins, it's written down, there are
Yes.
no mistakes. It's one thing to propagate oral history, but to your point, things are
Absolutely.
forgotten,
It's
things are
taken watered
mistaken.
down, lied,
Yep, yep,
I mean, just
yep, yep. We need
yes, just
life
using that
stories.
example,
We need life
using that
stories.
example. I mean,
Yes.
without going, if you want to know more about it, it's all over Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So
Mm,
this is not what this show is
mhm,
about, because the audiences, I can see you're all going to be wondering if and I, but you
mm,
can even see, even in her lifetime, not even, the story was being reinvented in front of her, saying things that were
yeah,
not true,
yeah,
saying that she's a harlot, saying
yeah,
that, she's
yeah,
trying to take her father's
yeah.
money, like it's my dad's money. Whose money? Who should be taking it? And then also the thing about, what is the truth behind inheritance? Because
Mm,
anyone, and this is something that is, I think, for anyone that is from, especially from the continent of Africa, where there's different
mm,
cultures and all that. When someone dies out of
mm.
the country, the people that are left back home reinvent all sorts of rules and regulations that are not true, and
True,
you won't
true,
know because it's
true.
not written down. You don't know. A
Yes.
very good example was, like, for me, my mom, bless her heart, was always paying our class dues. I don't even know what that is. I've never lived there, never got, but she made sure that she
Mm,
was paying for the five of us. So all of us, we were up to
mm,
date. Even when she was in America, she was sending somebody somewhere. Please make sure, I've got a lot of money. Make sure
mm,
that we're all paid up. So that when my mom, because when my dad
mm,
died, they were trying to say, oh, we're not. Mom said, no, look at the book. They were shocked. They were shocked. All our
mm,
names. I've never gone
mm,
to any meeting.
mm,
None of us. And so she
mm,
continued that
mm,
up until just before she died. The booklet, everything was in there. So when we went home, they were like, oh, you
mm.
need to do this. The tradition is this. We're like, nope, look, it's not.
It's
So
done.
you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I'm gonna have to bring you back. This is we're just touching. I'm gonna have to bring you back for part two. I'm not gonna let. I'm saying this live
Yeah.
so she can't say no. I like to do that. Put the wind up so she can't say no. I'm
Mhm,
gonna ask you a
mhm.
quick
Yeah.
question because just as we were talking, you mentioned Ifunanya, and it's a sad story that's going on even right now as we speak. And so,
Mhm,
I want to talk a little bit about the healing power of legacy, because I think that's something
mm,
really, really
mm,
important. Obviously, as you're a healer yourself,
mm,
a scientific healer, and also a
mm,
healer with regards to
mhm,
the pen and
mhm,
how you create stories and
mhm,
histories.
mhm,
I want to talk about,
mhm,
have you seen how storytelling, creating and
mm,
collating these stories, how it has brought healing into family, into generations?
mm,
And tell us a
mm.
little bit about that in your view.
I think absolutely. Oh my gosh. Stories can help us better understand. And you heal sometimes when you have a better understanding of the reason
Yes,
behind something, the
yes,
context. The stories help us to be a little more
yes,
forgiving. So, for example, you may have an issue with your parents and how they did something, but if you know their story, you might be more
mm,
forgiving. I've had things I wondered about as a child. I thought, oh, mom and dad could have done it better. And, for some people, it might be really dramatic or very major to the point that you
yep,
carry animosity towards your parent. For some people, luckily, I don't have anything that heavy,
mm,
but some people do, and then you're maybe in your 40s and you're thinking about it. And then you think, you know what? My dad had to make that decision at 33. And you find
yes,
yourself more forgiving because you're in your
yes,
40s, you can't even
yes,
get your act together, and you're
yes,
feeling bad about or feeling resentful about something your parent had to decide on at a much younger age in a world that wasn't as connected
yes,
as ours, with fewer
yes,
resources to guide them. You couldn't Google up a how to video
yes,
on YouTube for them,
yes.
things like that. And then the other thing is very nicely illustrated in Michelle Obama's Becoming.
I
I
love
love
the book.
Michelle Obama,
I love
the
her.
ex
I love
first lady. So she's just taught me so much from her book. So her Becoming, she writes about her grandparents. She writes about a certain grandfather who was a very sour,
yes,
bitter character. And then she starts describing how this man was one of those who migrated out of the South at a time when there was a lot of animosity, racism, and there was the Great Migration. A lot of Black Americans moved to cities hoping to get jobs. This man was a very intelligent man. He left the South hoping to go to school and have a career, only for him to get to Chicago and bingo, the same racism,
yes,
different flavor,
yes,
still there. He did not realize
yes,
his full potential. So, are we surprised he ended up sour? No. You understand people when you know the context of their behavior, what surrounded them, what made them become in a certain way. So, I think to the extent that we understand better, we can better contextualize things, we are more forgiving, stories can
yes,
help us heal.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
I have about two, three questions boiling, but I know each question will take us another 20 minutes to unpack. And I'm just thinking, I like the point. I just want to make a quick comment on that point with regards to Michelle Obama's grandparents, because that's something that we even see today. Back to diaspora, where
Yeah.
people travel, our parents and grandparents, they would have traveled in the 50s and in the 60s. We've got here in the UK, we've got the Windrush generation. So you got the their
Mm-hmm.
parents came in the
Mm-hmm.
late 40s and the 50s, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Africans followed in the late 50s and the
Mm-hmm.
60s. And many of them came because they
Mm-hmm.
were told to come. So many of them were educated,
Mm-hmm.
they were nurses and all sorts of things in their
Mm-hmm.
countries, Jamaica, Trinidad. They came over here and
Mm-hmm.
there was racism, there was no job, and they ended up cleaning the streets or being bus drivers and all that. And many of them were so resentful. And so when you talk about that, that sourness, you're coming to what you feel is God's own country, England. I'm coming to the motherland, because obviously you're thinking about the Commonwealth, the British Empire. You're coming to, to do your bit. Maybe you fought in the Second World War or something, and you come here only to, and
Mm-hmm.
so that still perpetrates even till today, in the way our young
Mm-hmm.
boys are behaving in England and in America and all that. But I'm going to let you say, oh, I don't even know how. I want you to talk quickly about your book, and I've already put you on the spot. You have to come back whether you like it or not. So she said, yes, people. You wrote a
Yes.
book, a fantastic book called Self Navigate for Health and How to Write Your Family Biography. What would you say as a
Yes.
final words for this particular, because I'm bringing you back? What would you say is a common thread connecting your passion for health and your passion for heritage? Yeah. And I think
Mm.
that's a nice segue.
Mm. I'd say the nice connection is health is
Mm,
mind and body. if you are like me and you're a diasporian kid, you're hovering all over there, you're floating, you're trying to be grounded. You want to be grounded in health, in mind and body. Your mind needs to be grounded if you
Yeah.
know your roots, you know who you
Yes.
descended from, so you have a better
Yes.
mental attitude. I think that it's hard to be mentally healthy if the world is telling you
Yes.
you're nothing,
Yes.
you're nobody, and you're
Yes.
internalizing it. If you know who you are, if the world tells you that, this is what you do. You shrug it up. You're like, what is wrong with you, world? Of course, I'm so brilliant. I'm amazing. So you got your facts wrong. And that is how I raise my children. I raise them by filling
Mm,
their cup,
mm,
filling them up with so
mm.
much pride that whatever the world does, my daughter rolls her eyes because she knows what her
Yeah.
mom has told her. She knows you
Yes.
are amazing. You're fearfully and
Amen.
powerfully made. So
Yes.
who is that? So you fill your cup mentally and then you fill your cup physically. You look out for your physical health. You take charge of your health journey. You know what you ought to do to stay on top of your health. You're not waiting for people to do it. You know what ought to be done. So if something doesn't happen, you know to ask questions. How come that test didn't happen? How come you said you'd call me for that appointment?
Yes.
It didn't happen. I'm going to go check. You're not sitting there putting your life and your health in
Yes.
somebody's hands. You are driving the boat. I tell my patients, no,
You
I
hear
am
what she
not the
said?
captain
She
in the
said
ship
for writing to
called
I
your
tell my
journey.
patients. You see the
Yep.
intersection?
Yep. I tell them, I am not the captain on this
Yeah.
ship called your health.
Yeah.
You are the captain. I am there assisting you with my knowledge base, but you
Yes.
drive this ship. Because if I go on vacation for 2 weeks, I need you to know what we
Yes.
said was going to happen. And I need you to say, she said this
Yes.
test needs to happen. It didn't happen. Can you have her nurse tell me or the person on call because you know your stuff. And in fact, I have a health journal published. I don't know if I told you that, but there's a health journal I published that's meant for people to use to better stay on top of their health affairs. It's
I
on
love that.
Amazon as well. So that's because I really believe in health in mind and body. And I think that's how
I
it all comes
absolutely love
together.
this. Dr. Uche, you've been absolutely phenomenal. You know, I'm mindful because I know you have to go into clinic very soon. And so people, I know you're thinking, oh, this is short. It's only just over half an hour. Yes, but we're bringing her back. I've said it so she knows she has no choice, bringing her back this again.
Yes.
But this has been absolutely amazing. You've given me so many things to think about, things that I've, and this is what I like about this show. You know, everyone has a different stance, a different flavor, and it just all comes together. And I like when I finish the show, I feel empowered, I feel enriched. And I know that you guys at home, wherever it is around the world that you're listening or watching from, please put in the comments, but make sure you come back because there will be part two. There will be part two very, very
Yes.
soon. It's not going to be a long time
Yes.
ago. See, you can see I'm saying this so that she can't say no, no, no. But thank
Yes.
you.
I'd
Well, no,
love to
you
come
have to,
back.
because we really have to unpack this a bit more. I think just one topic alone can talk up, when you were talking about the sourness,
Yep.
because it affects every single person in the diaspora. Everyone has a
Mm-hmm.
level because,
Mm-hmm.
you don't quite, you're floating. So you're right about us being grounded. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you so
Mm.
much for your expertise.
Yes.
And
Yes.
quietly, I will be talking to you to know how we can write down my story. I've got several books. I'm
Yes.
thinking about making sure I get
Yay.
my story and as much as my mom's that I can remember in some people's books, because I think it's really important.
Yes.
Anyway, if you want to contact her, please, 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 these are her details. It's on the screen. Um, if you can copy the link here, her link tree here, you can take a screenshot or something. Just go to her link tree. You see her Instagram, her Facebook. She's on YouTube. If you want to make sure that the history of your family will not get lost, so that your descendants will know about you and know about the people before you, This is the woman to speak to. I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really, really mean this. Thank you so, so much. Oh, I don't want to end this, but we have to. People, thank you so much. This is episode 48 of A Cup of Tea with me. And I didn't even offer her a cup of tea. I think because she's American, she probably has coffee. I
have black coffee. Right on board. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yep. Remember, everyone, your story is your legacy, and its health is mind and body, okay?
Fantastic.
Thanks for listening to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Z, your reinvention queen. We hope you've been motivated and inspired to go out there and conquer any obstacles and issues you may face. You can find Dr. Zena on all social platforms. Until next time, remember, you're not alone.